Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu receives letters of credence from 3 countries. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umoino flags of construction of Tabernacle Road and its environs with 0.97 kilometers underground outfall drain in Uyo. Plus, Putin says investigation into Prigozhin's death will take time. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We'll begin the news tonight with the first citizen of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, who has received letters of credence from 3 ambassadors designates at the presidential villa Abuja. Letter of credence is a formal letter that the ambassadors show the president that their government appointed them to serve in Nigeria. Speaking to State House correspondents, Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga said ambassadors designate are from the Republic of Cuba, the United Arab Emirates, and the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia.
Well, it was the ambassadors of Ethiopia, of Cuba, and United Arab Emirates presenting the letters of credence. And these are countries that we've had very good and close relationships with for many years. And, there were several discussions about ongoing issues, and it was very, very amiable. And, in fact, some of them were quite emotional because, for instance, the ambassador of Cuba is returning for the second time as Cuba's ambassador to Nigeria. And of course, United Arab Emirates as well. It's very keen to resolve all outstanding issues, with Nigeria, and they were very fruitful discussions. Absolutely, because the work had started even before the presentation of the letters of credence by the ambassador. So this is something that you're going to see changes, issues resolved as quickly as possible. He brought good tidings and well wishes, and also plans.
Tuga, who assumed office on Monday, had pledged that he would present Nigeria's new foreign policy, which would reposition the country at the pinnacle of visionary and global decision-making. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has approved the return of a delegation of Islamic leaders, ulama, to Niger Republic for another round of dialogue with the coup leaders. Tinubu made the decision today after a meeting with the top clerics led by Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi, who were recently in Niamey, the Niger Republic capital, 2 weeks ago for dialogue with the junta led by General Abdurrahman Chiani. Tinubu made the decision in his capacity as the chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Since the junta seized power from President Mohamed Bazoum July 26, 2023, ECOWAS had imposed sanctions on Niger in response to the coup and has not ruled out using force against the army officers. Meanwhile, the West African bloc has approved the deployment of a standby force to restore constitutional order in Niger as soon as possible, but remains committed to finding a diplomatic solution to the crisis.
Have returned to the President for the second time to give a report on their ongoing dialogue with the military junta and other stakeholders in Niger Republic. They have briefed Mr. President about the situation And the effort is still ongoing. Mr. President has listened to them. They will continue this dialogue. Mr. President is interested in exploring peaceful options in this, but nothing is off the table. He has asked the ulamas to continue their dialogue, and they will continue to do that.
And we are still going back there to ensure that through amicable way, through peaceful way, as spiritual leaders, we'll be able to do and contribute what we can be able to do. What we want is we don't want war. We want peace to reign in our region. So may Allah continue to bless His Excellency the President for giving us this opportunity, and we want serious prayers.
Away from that, the National Assembly has commenced an investigation into the alleged gruesome murder of members of a vigilante group in Eke, Udi local government by the men of the Nigerian Army. The House of Representatives ad hoc committee led by its chairman Sani Abdul Rahim, who met with the Enugu State Deputy Governor Ifeanyi Osai, assured him of their resolve to uncover the truth and serve justice. The deputy, while responding, told the delegate about the government's vested interest in the case and why the job must be done with every sense of responsibility. Reports say men from the 82 Division of the Nigerian Army allegedly opened fire on some members of the AK Vigilante group who were on their way to respond to a distress call in their community, allegedly killing 2 of them, including a woman, and inflicting gunshot injury on 3 others. More from the Green Chambers. The House of Representatives ad hoc committee set up to interface with relevant security agencies to reduce kidnapping, assassinations and banditry in and around Isiokwato and Umunochi local government area of Abia State, has called for release of leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB Nnamdi Kanu for peace to reign in the southeast region. The chairman of the committee, Obinna Agwocha, made the call at a meeting today in Abuja. According to him, for absolute peace, reduction of crime and criminality, investment in meaningful infrastructure development, ending the unproductive sit-at-home, and improving economic growth and opportunities in the southeast. The whole achievement would start with the government's recognition of the rule of law, justice, and equitable inclusion of the southeast zone. He said to achieve the project's Nigeria, the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu from unlawful detention to ensure lasting peace and security in the entire region cannot be overemphasized. While addressing the security agencies present at the meeting, he said the insecurity challenges being faced in the areas being in focus in Abia State was a result of shared borders with other states, which he said gives the criminals a leeway for movement across the state borders. In another development, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT Nyesom Wike has ordered the immediate arrest of the owner of the collapsed building when he visited the scene of the incident at Garki village, Abuja. Several residents were trapped in the rubble of the 2-story building that collapsed on Wednesday night. Wike, who gave the order today, applauded the ongoing rescue efforts, saying that it was unfortunate that they woke up to the very disturbing news of the building collapse. He, however, appealed to the Permanent Secretary to make sure that funds are raised to pay the hospital bills of those who were rescued.
But one government says take building plan. It is not as if government want to suffer anybody. It's to make sure that anybody is protected, cities are planned, and to foster this kind of building without it. I ask that we must identify the owner of this property. It is very, very important. The government, of course, that we welcome this ceremony. There is discerning news. It is done.
The FCT minister said that he will take immediate action to see that the indigenous people of the village were resettled and then the government has to plan out the area. Meanwhile, some residents of the area said they had persistently complained to the landlord and lawyer of the collapsed building concerning its dilapidated state, saying that their complaints, however, fell on deaf ears. The visibly angry residents equally blamed relevant government agencies for failing to conduct integrity tests or inspections on the building, which it said is located in the city center and a highly populated area of Abuja. In a separate development, the Nigeria Air Force, NAF, says it is set to receive 18 attack helicopters from the United States and Turkey to strengthen its fleet. The Chief of Air Staff, Hassan Abubakar, who made this known during a one-day tour of formations and units under the NAF 115 Special Operations Group in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, said he was in the state to commiserate with the families of the NAF pilots and crew that died in the helicopter crash in Niger on August 14. Abubakar said the force is saddened by the loss of its airplane Mi-171 helicopter, but they are unfazed because more are on the way. In education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU, following a National Executive Council NEC meeting held at the University of Maiduguri, has asked the federal government through the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to release outstanding promotion arrears owed its members in the interest of industrial peace and harmony in Nigerian universities. ASU, in a statement released today, said it was also disturbed by the news of employment racketeering perpetrated through the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System. The NEC added that the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has failed to address the issue despite several efforts by the union and university administrations. Meanwhile, the National Universities Commission (NUC) says the implementation of the Core Curriculum Minimum Academic Standards (CCMAS) will begin by September 2023. Speaking at the stakeholders' colloquium on CCMAS in Abuja, the acting executive secretary of NUC, Chris Mayaki, said the document would reposition Nigerian universities to be among the best rated in Africa. Mayaki said that CCMAS, which is expected to guide institutions, would make up 70% of the curriculum, while the university will decide what to include in the remaining 30%. According to him, the implementation will help sharpen the future of the education sector in the country. Still in education, some students of the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, have today staged a protest around the school over alleged sexual harassment and intimidation in the institution. Reports say the aggrieved students, mainly females, called on the Vice-Chancellor of the institution, Professor Charles Simone, to release the Professor Obi Ogwejiofor panel report, which indicted some members of staff. Meanwhile, they also petitioned the federal government to intervene to protect them against incessant sexual harassments, which they claimed had been rocking the school in recent times. In the meantime, now, the President, National Association of Nigerian Students, Usman Barambu, has called on the House of Representatives to amend the Student Loan Act to allow all Nigerian students who desire loan to have access to them. This is as they asked the House to include student representation on the board and capture polytechnics and colleges of education on the board instead of only National University Commission (NUC), which was earlier captured. Speaking at the Legislative Summit on Student Loan and Access to Higher Education held by the Ad Hoc Committee today in Abuja, Barambu said criteria for access to loan in the current Act was too stringent, adding that the method of payment of 2 years was too short, but should be reviewed to at least 4 to 5 years. He also called that the list of guarantors to access loans to be looked into, adding that most students will not be able to meet the guarantors' requirements. To the judiciary now, where the Court of Appeal in Owerri, Imo State, today sacked Julius Abure and recognized Lamido Apapa as the national chairman of the Labour Party. The court also ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to immediately recognize and publish the names of all the governorship candidates produced by the Apapa-led National Working Committee in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states. The court also dismissed the governorship candidature of Senator Ethan Achonu of Imo State and others belonging to the Abure-led LP faction. It will be recalled that in April, Apapa said his suspension as a member of the party was invalid, noting that he remained the legitimate acting chairman. Straight to politics now. Election experts have said the electoral system in Nigeria has improved despite ongoing challenges, especially during the last 2023 general elections. Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, CTA, Faith Nwadishi, made this assertion while presenting its final report on the 2023 general elections in Nigeria and a compendium of the 2019 general and off-season elections conducted by INEC in Abuja today. Nwadishi commended the electoral system in Nigeria over its improvements since the inception of democracy, despite the numerous challenges. She explained that the reports, which cover the Nigerian electoral scene from 2019 through 2022, offer the 2023 general election for evaluation and professional assessments of the electoral process to make a recommendation for the next cycle of elections. Nwadishi, while speaking on the result of the report, commended the electoral body for improving the electioneering process despite the ongoing challenges, especially with the use of technology to improve the efficiency and openness of the voting process.
The general elections in Nigeria have been characterized by both progress and challenges. Thanks to democracy, Nigerians have been able to exercise their right to vote and elect their leaders. But concerns have been raised regarding electoral processes, election logistics, vote buying, voter intimidation, and violence, among other issues, during the campaign and election days. However, it is important to note that the electoral system in Nigeria has improved despite ongoing challenges. Voter education program, regular consultation with civil society leaders, citizens and stakeholders, media parties, and the use of technology to improve the efficiency and openness of the voting process are all parts of
exercise their votes and strengthen the democratic process by choosing their leaders. Even though we had worries about the electoral fraud, voter suppression, violence throughout the campaign and election days, you will understand, you will come to agree with me that, well, despite all this election was guided by rule and laws governing the nation's election, which was established by the INEC, that's Independent National Electoral Commission. Voter registration, political campaigning, voting, result announcement, all fall under the electoral process. It is significant to know that Nigerian elections have changed.
Still in politics, ahead of the 2023 off-cycle election in Bayelsa State, the gubernatorial candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Doye Diri, has assured that the use of federal might to influence the outcome of the election will not work in the state. The governor made this known today while speaking at the inauguration ceremony of its campaign council for the November 11 governorship election at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja. The governor, who expressed satisfaction over the readiness of the party in winning the election, said he would return to office, having performed to the satisfaction of the people of the state. He, however, urged the party not to be complacent about the alleged negative intentions of his main rival at the poll.
We will not take it for granted Because somebody is boasting that whether the people like it or not, I will win this election. It means he's standing on a stone. And we must remove that stone from under him.
Bayelsa's potential is limitless. And we stand at a crossroad of history, ready to shape its trajectory. Our campaign will be driven by the voices of the people, and our policies will reflect their aspirations.
It's the fact that the governor has done so well. He has done so well in Bayelsa. So the good work that you have done will speak for you. It's the fact that the governor has done so well.
Well, the governor of Taraba State and chairman of the campaign council, Abu Kafas, speaking on the level of security in the state, stated that Governor Diri will ensure the protection of lives and property before, during and after the election. Away from that now, the Kano State Executive Council has approved the release of 854 million naira for the Orenzoraria Mass Wedding Initiative. It also approved 700 million naira for the payment of school fees for 7,000 indigents of the state studying at Bayero University, Kano, BUK. Governor Abba Kabe Yusuf made this known today via his verified X page, formerly known as Twitter. The state government also approved the rehabilitation of pedestrian bridges at Bayero University, Kano Old Campus, Aminu Kano College of Legal and Islamic Studies, and this Datu Rimi University of Education. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino has ordered for a fact-finding report on the activities as well as the immediate relocation of Golden Tripod Limited GTL, a factory located along Ikolipana Road in Uyo, to the Ibom Industrial Park in Itam, Itu local government area. Governor No gave the order while flagging off the construction of a 2.2 kilometers Tabernacle Road and its environs with 0.97 kilometers underground outfall drain in Uyo local government area. He said the report, which is to be done by the State Commissioner for Environment and his internal security counterpart, should be completed within 48 hours. According to him, the relocation became necessary following reports that the emission from the factory poses a health challenge to the residents of the area, stating that the government has invested a lot to make the industrial park a modern one to accommodate industries in the state. On the Tabernacle Road project, which traverses Uyo and Itu local government areas, the governor said it was a fulfillment of his campaign promise to the people of the area and his determination to create access roads in line with the rural development plans of his Arise agenda. In their goodwill messages, the stakeholders of Uyo and Itu local government areas commended Governor Eno for embarking on life-touching and economically viable projects and ensuring that the people in the rural communities benefit from his government. They assured him of their support and cooperation to the realization of his Arise agenda.
Here flag of Usom in frame, like Manung Tanke, a few other places. I did again Ntangi Keritungom Poison Ageki Ido my style. My style at a Romanam Bosio Frewo Eket. But Manung the Ombogam Bakarati Ebogedi morning shows the day. So we believe that with the kind of contractor that we have put in here, they will deliver on purpose and as scheduled. Then we'll come back and commission the road. There are a few things I want to talk about. First of all, as I sat there, I looked at this and I asked, what structure is this? Ebogedo factory. And Eboge Moite Namutomo Konoyo. Now please, Commissioner for Environment, Commissioner for Internal Security, in the next 48 hours, I want to have a report. Say factory me etienam. And me yeme no mo etieke.
In the meantime, people have been charged to properly cook their meals and avoid the consumption of sick or dead animals so as not to get infected with anthrax disease. A microbiologist in the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital, UUTH, Dr. Agantem Ekuma, made this known in an interview with Spectrum Television. Dr. Ekuma, while noting that people can get sick with anthrax disease if they come in contact with infected animals or contaminated animal products, urged the government to put in place modalities, including increasing the supply of vaccines to curb any outbreak.
If the food is well cooked, that proper boiling should be able to kill any spores that is present in food. And the way we season our meat here, I believe that it will be effective in killing any anthrax organism that may be in your food. But the good thing I must mention is that this disease is not transmissible from one person to another. So you can only get it from animals or animal products, but it cannot be transmitted from one person to the other. So I think vigilance is important. Then vaccination is also important. People who take care of animals and the authorities that are responsible for animal health should ensure that those involved in this industry are well educated and they have access to veterinary services so that when their animals are sick, they can have trained personnel come and look at them and advise on what to do. So I think that the important control measures should be focused on animals if the food is well cooked.
Still to come in the news. Uranium rises to 16-month high, $58 per pound. Do stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now to Africa, where South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that the BRICS Club of Emerging Nations will admit 6 new members, including Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates and Iran, at the start of next year. Ramaphosa said the group, which makes decisions by consensus, had agreed on the guiding principles, standards, criteria and procedures of the BRICS expansion process. Reports say nearly 24 countries have formally applied to join the club, which represents a quarter of the global economy and more than 3 billion people. Still in Africa, Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan was seen outside his headquarters today for the first time since fighting with paramilitaries erupted more than 4 months ago. Some of the footage filmed before dawn and posted on the Army's Facebook page showed Burhan speaking to soldiers with the caption indicating that he was at the Wadi Saidna Air Base north of Khartoum. In separate daytime images posted later, he is seen surrounded by civilians in the capital's twin city of Omdurman, where residents also reported fighting today. Images of Burhan have rarely been released since fighting erupted on April 15 between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF of his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. And while Algeria said it sent a senior official to neighboring Niger today to pursue a diplomatic initiative following a coup that has sparked threats of regional military intervention. The Foreign Ministry's Secretary General, Lounes Magramane, said this on X, formerly known as Twitter. Niger's Voice of the Sahel radio station later said he met members of the military-appointed government, including Prime Minister Ali Mohamed Lamine Zain, Defense Minister Salifou Modi, Foreign Minister Bakari Yo Sangare, and Justice Minister Aliou Daouda. The visit comes a day after Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf began a tour of West African countries in a bid to finding a solution in a crisis in which Algiers firmly opposes any military intervention. It will be recalled that the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has threatened to use force to reinstate the elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, who was toppled by members of his guard on July 26. In the meantime, Mozambican doctors and other health workers have suspended a strike that has been going on for more than a month and paralyzed public health services. It comes hours after President Filipe Nyusi appealed to the health professionals to resume work to safeguard the health of Mozambicans. He said the strike had caused a lot of suffering and contributed to a reduction in productivity. The chairman of the country's medical association, Milton Tatia, said the creation of a new negotiations team led by Prime Minister Adriano Malane had made them decide to return to work. However, he said they would resume the strike in October if there is no progress in the negotiations. The health workers have been demanding better wages and working conditions. They have also raised concerns about inadequate food for patients, lack of medicine and equipment in some hospitals. Meanwhile, the strike, which began on 10th July, involved more than 2,000 health professionals from across the country. Elsewhere, the army says 2 senior jihadist leaders have been killed in joint operations with regional forces in Mozambique's northern Cabo Delgado province. According to the army in a statement, one of them was Abu Keto, who held the position of deputy commander of the operations of the group Alu Suna wal Jama'ah. The other was Ali Mohando, who also held a senior position in the group. Meanwhile, Mozambique's army and allied forces, including Rwandan troops and a military mission from Southern Africa's regional bloc, SADC, have been conducting operations in jihadist-hit province. Mozambique has been battling an Islamic State group-linked insurgency since October 2017. Reports say more than 1 million people have been forced to flee their homes, with more than 4,000 others killed over the period. Elsewhere, police in Zimbabwe have confirmed the arrest of 39 election monitors for allegedly trying to disrupt the voting process. According to reports, officers carried out a series of raids across the capital, Harare, including at a hotel and at offices of Zimbabwe Election Support Network and the Elections Support Center. The civil society groups were coordinating an independent count of election results. The police spokesman, Paul Nyati, told newsmen that computers and phones had been seized. Earlier, lawyers said they had received disturbing distress calls from those being detained. So in Africa, the UN's migration agency says that more than 4 million Ethiopians are now displaced within the country, largely because of conflict or drought. The National Displacement Report, which covers the period between last November and June 2023, says 2/3 of them were forced from their homes by conflicts. For the first time since 2021, the report includes the war-hit region of Tigray, which has Ethiopia's biggest population uprooted by war, more than 1 million people.